Welcome to another show with Around the Garden with Jimmy K. I will tell you, it is the first day of spring. It's been unbelievable this winter. It's been really, really cold. So what I'm going to say is, get rid of these now. These are done, okay? We don't need it anymore because we've got a really action-packed show right here. All about spring, all about what's growing, and it's going to be phenomenal. I have the privilege and the honor of one of my best friends that I met many, many years ago on the CB radio, and he is originally from the lake in Nonantum. Everybody knows the lake in Newton, and he was a mechanic. He decided to go further up north, and he decided to settle down in the lakes region of New Hampshire, and he loves it. Boating, skiing, and all that. And he is a realtor right now, and he's been doing it for many, many years. And he contacted me, and I contacted him, and we said, you know something? He's seen so many flaws out there as far as what people show their house or people that look at houses as far as gardens. And quite honestly, they're a mess. Welcome, Bruno, to Around the Garden with Jimmy K.
Thank you very much for Jimmy. Thank you for having me.
He drove all the way from New Hampshire, and I'll tell you, it's a beautiful, beautiful first day of spring.
It absolutely was.
Bruno, again, welcome. So tell me a little bit, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Bruno Coppola. I'm working right now with Caldwell Banker. I'm an associate broker, and we're selling in New Hampshire. Also have associates all over Massachusetts. So if you need anything, you can look me up and find me. No problem at all. So I called you originally because when I go to a listing appointment, the first thing when I drive up is I'm taking a look at the home and the architecture of the home. In New Hampshire, a lot of people overgrow their houses.
So can I stop you right there?
Go ahead.
When we were talking earlier, and you were telling me you saw a house quite recently, actually, and it was all overgrown, okay? And there was a beautiful, almost like a beautiful window there that you couldn't see. And it was all overgrown with a holly bush. And just so happens, we have a holly bush over here that's all ugly looking, and you're saying it was up to here.
Yep.
All you gotta do with a pair of shears, anybody could do, is just snip it down level, and you see the window. And that's what you were telling me that you were telling the homeowner to do.
Absolutely.
And you saw this beautiful, what was it, like a ceramic kind of a glass?
It was a stained glass window that I think either the original owner or one of the owners had put it together themselves and used that as a focal point to the front of their home. And throughout the years, the people that lived there, obviously that holly bush grew and covered it.
Yeah, and when you say curb appeal with real estate, you know, granted the house looks good, everybody's got the beautiful bathrooms and the beautiful kitchens and all that, but as a person going by and just taking a glance of the home, you know, they want to see something, you know, color.
We find that most people, their attention span is very short. If the home curb appeal is not right, you may have behind the door, you may have the most ultimate refurbished home ever, but they may just continue right by because you have those two huge hollies or rhododendrons covering the beautiful architecture of that home.
One thing I can say on that, though, is that when you have bushes close to a home, and we'll get into the gardening house, that brings almost shelter to the canopy of the house. So you got mold, shade, you know, maybe some boards that are going to start rotting, your roof. You know, I've seen trees overhanging houses, and if you cut all that back, you can do it. I mean, it's great to go outside. You can do it. You know, anyone can do it. Right. You know, all you need is rake, a shovel, and basically some shears like I just used, and trim it. Yes. It's a beautiful day to do that. And one of the things that's on the table here is this would brighten up the door. As simple as it is. So you're driving 100%. By and you're showing it, and people are like, wow. We're going to pull up some pictures that Bruno brought, and he's seen such a messy jobs out there. And he's going to pull up some pictures of some homes before and after. And because of his advice that he gave, one of the ones that you told me was less than $100. to do in the garden. And the people were like, wow, thank you, Bruno, so much for doing that. It was less than $100, and their house just like shined.
Part of our job is preparing the home, helping them and prepare the home, and obviously to try to do it at a reasonable, if somebody's selling their home, they want the most amount of money. They don't want to spend money really to fix it. They want the most amount of money.
Right.
And everybody's home is worth $1 million, let's put it.
No.
But for a few little things, like, we're talking about outside of the home for curb appeal. I also talk about interior of the home as well. So that's a different avenue to go. Right now, really, as coming into spring, it's curb appeal. We have the snowfall. We have all kinds of stuff. You can, clean up your spring, spring cleaning. A lot of people don't think of that. They call me and they want to put the house on the market. I'm like, rake the front yard. Pick up the sand and the salt that you spread all over your beautiful patio that nobody could see. I said, these are things leading up to curb appeal. That house that had the $100, there's a photo here that we have that will show. Those were flower boxes that were put on a window. Totally changed the whole look of the house.
And one thing you also brought up that's really important, you said a lot of the homes that you show have sprinkler systems. Test it, have it, if it's a simple fix and all that, because you don't want to find out after you sell the home that your sprinkler systems had water in there and it didn't get blasted out, before the winter. So you advise that too. Do a tune-up. Do a quick tune-up, because you want everyone to be happy. Now, you were talking about outdoors and curb appeal and all that. Just picture one of these and one of these on a deck, just situated like they are here on a deck, and people could sit out on their deck and say, I can really live into this home.
That's the whole thing. Get them to visualize themselves on that deck or coming up to that driveway to their home. That's the whole ball game. If you can get the curb appeal on your home, you're going to get bodies through the door.
And many times we've talked over the years, and you said, you've walked up or you've drove up to people and you go, whoa, whoa, whoa. You need to cut these things back. You need to do this, because there's no way that I could even list this. We know that the market's hot, everyone's grabbing homes left and right, but you still want the maximum amount of money in New Hampshire, in Massachusetts, but you want to look at, everybody has unique situations why they're selling a home.
Right.
You've even told me a story that somebody did $1,000 curb appeal, and guess what? They ended up keeping their home. They said, it looks so good, I want to stay here.
Right.
So they gave.
We've had that a few times where you got to be careful as well, because I've given ideas and gotten them a gardener or somebody to come and do trimming and this and that, and all of a sudden now the house gets full daylight, and they're like, oh, our living room never had, or our dining room never had this much light.
So now they want to live in their home. It's like a rebirth.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's really interesting. So can you give people tips out there of what you see and, what they should do? I know, lawns and, and bushes. We covered, things, canopy homes and stuff like that. Just a little bit of mulch.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, the whole premises here is curb appeal. Getting that person to come up, for one thing, mentally, that person's going to look and go, wow, we buy the house, there's not much to do outside. Which later on they'll figure out they're going to have to continue to maintain it. But their mind originally is going to be, wow, this looks really nice. Same thing with going to a backyard, like you talked about, putting a few potted plants on top of a deck with a couple of Adirondack chairs. That gives a warm welcome for somebody to come and sit. And even after the deck, maybe they do a little flower bed. We find that a lot of times when people, especially coming into spring right now, people want to put their house on the market. They don't think about their old flower beds. They should be either getting rid of any old, if they did vegetable garden. A lot of people don't clear out the vegetable garden in the fall. The snow comes, the cold comes. So clean that up.
Yeah, we don't care. We're going to put the house on the market.
Exactly. But I say to them, just take a few minutes. That's a weekend chore. You have the tools. Most people have. Every tool you're showing here, guaranteed, every house has one, unless you're at a condo.
Yeah. And you also have a picture of a before and after, as simple as 6 packs of petunias and some flowers in pots, structured, in the walkway. that looked really, really good. And that was minimal money. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's something that you could do on a weekend,
Right.
you know, with a minimal amount of work. But when we talk about gardens, you want to make it like it is, and it really is, your living room outside. It's a picture, it's a big painting, and you can create so much in the garden, you know, that I always say you can just use your imagination. You know, you could take a corner and put a small tree there, or take the front steps, or you could have a minimal area just to make it relaxing. Now, you were bringing up about the Adirondack chairs. You could have a front porch there with a couple of little potted plants, and it makes it soothing and relaxing, you know, and that works and makes it comfort. A couple of hangers right on the bolts of the
I was
sides.
going to say, most of the people with a farmer's porch, I ask them to hang a few, get an eye bolt, put it in there, 2 seconds, 99 cents at the hardware store, go buy a couple of plants, hang them. First of all, it will deter from anything that might be a little bit off on the porch, and it'll give somebody the feeling, wow, that really feels nice to sit there and hang up.
Yeah. So, and that's where we are with as far as curb appeal, you know, making different areas structured all around the home, even like the back part of the yard, you know, if it's really, really shady, you can, like I have over here, you know, I have shady plants, you know, the hydrangeas in the background. Those are
Yep.
shade-loving plants. You could put those, and these are plants that will continue to bloom all summer long. Over on the other side over here, we have peonies. Peonies are a perennial, you know, and we were talking earlier as far as mixing up the garden. If you're going to have your house on the market, whether it be in the fall or the spring, you can mix it up with all kinds of different perennials / annuals in your garden. Now, there's annuals all over here.
Right, and that's a great point. So if you're going to go into the fall, try to use something that's fall blooming, as opposed to people will buy the petunias, people will buy some of the smaller plants, and by the time fall comes, what happens? They're pulling them out, they're all gone, they're done. So people, you know, I try to tell them, if you know, depending upon, lately homes are selling pretty fast, so getting whatever curb appeal you can for that quick setup is fine. If you're going to do something in long term, there are, as you just mentioned, different type of plants and shrubs that people can use that are inexpensive to give that look that they want, to be able to have somebody come to the house and go, wow, this looks really nice. Or somebody walking, like I just said before, I don't have to do anything in this yard. Look how beautiful this yard is. I don't have to touch anything. Just got to make sure I keep the water going.
Right, and that's something like somebody that starts reaching the age, you know, that they want to retire or they want to settle down, they want the place up north, and they want to get into the snowmobile, which you love, the boating, which you love,
Right.
and they want to go out and explore what the North Country all has.
Yeah.
So planting perennials and less maintenance plants up there in their new home that they're going to find up there. Now, I was reading, and I hope it's true, and maybe it's not, that a lot of people from Mass can't find anything here, so they're going up north and they're finding a simple home to retire down to. They're working from home, and they like looking outside their window at their grounds and their yards. But at the same note, everyone loves to go up north in the fall. Right. I mean, it's like a big giant painting, always changing. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because you see that all the time.
When fall foliage hits the Lakes region and the White Mountains, the color, depending on your seasons, what you get for your cold and wet, you know, if you have a dry season, you're not going to have that much vivid colors. But I've been up there now since '07. And I don't think we've seen a bad foliage season that I've been there. I mean, the colors are just phenomenal. People flock there. Obviously, they come there to take a look at the mountains and the lakes and the foliage. That's our busiest, probably our busiest time, because it's busloads and busloads of people that come. That's when I try to get my card out and get selling to people, okay?
So, and that's where we can kind of lead into the gardening of the home or the new home or the one that you're listing and all that, is get color, but also color that bounces off of the house.
Correct.
And everyone likes trees because they all, like you said, flock up there in buses.
Right.
What do they call them? Leaf peepers?
They call them leaf peepers when they come up, yes.
All bus up there, and they're all taking pictures off of 93. Maybe you've been one of them. But, you know, it's funny. And every year, you know, I go up there and I see it's always different. The painting is always different. And you can do that in your yard, creating a garden.
Absolutely.
And that's what's amazing about bringing a home into the yard, but the yard is the big giant living room.
Absolutely. People, you know, if people buy vacation homes, for one thing, leading into this, somebody buying a vacation home wants to plant everything that is kind of self-maintenance. You know, that's the biggest thing. So when people come to me after they've purchased, sometimes they'll say to me, you know, I don't have a garden, or I don't want to come up, I don't want to mow the lawn. Do you have any? So I would obviously suggest to talk to Jimmy K or talk to somebody
I
to
ain't
come
going
up
that far.
I know you won't go up that far, but somebody will give an idea,
Yeah.
and that you can get ideas on how to make a maintenance-free, maintenance-free yard. A lot of times when people get ready to sell, as you noted, they're done. They want to move on. They don't really care. I just need to get my house sold. I want it for the most amount of money, you know. And I said, if you make it just a little bit appealing, we're going to get more bodies through the door. The more bodies through the door, the more chance of getting an offer, and getting a higher offer than you normally would think. So if you spent let's say you spent the weekend in the yard cleaning it up, and putting a couple of potted plants, or getting 2 flower boxes and putting them in your front focal window of the property coming up to your driveway, that could make a difference for somebody coming in, because everybody buying is looking 100% at everything around that house. When they drive up, one of the first things they look at is, even before the landscape, is they're looking at the roof, because the roof is expensive. That's the first thing they look at. I can't do anything with that if the people can't have any money with that, but I also say, listen, try to deter from the roof.
The trees overflowing.
Yes, do a few things that you can do. Biggest thing is having a tree over a roof that might not be that good. Cut that tree, because automatically that person's thinking, well, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars to cut that tree. All you need is an arborist to come and cut 2 limbs. You're not taking the full tree down.
Right.
You're getting the limb that's over the roof off of there. And that might not scare somebody, that the roof looks a little bit off, like how many years left on it. I don't know, I'm not a contractor. You know, that would be a home inspector that would tell you. But if you can deter them from that.
And one of the things that comes to my head as I look at the wall there, you had this really amazing house you showed me, and actually you talked to him about, and it had this rotary kind of driveway, and it looked almost like this wall. It was beautifully paved, the house was beautiful and all that, and it had this island that was terrible. Yep. The bushes from all the salt and the ice and whatever it was, they used rock salt or whatever, just killed the bushes. Yep. And there were evergreens and there were sticks. Yep. So when you drove up to this thing, the first thing you saw was this rotary coming into the house, but it was the driveway. Yeah. And it was dead.
That's the focal point. The focal point is that road coming in and that island. That's the first bit. And then their eye goes to the house.
And your suggestion was to bring in, that's why the hydrangeas are there, put a couple of hydrangeas. They were big hydrangeas, and a beautiful tree there that was low maintenance. It was low. It was actually a Japanese maple, and a couple of rhododendrons, so you got different colors popping at a different time. And that house, as you came down the road, but then you went into this horseshoe type of a driveway, looked so, and there's the word, curb appealing. Absolutely. And it was phenomenal. Absolutely. And you said right away that person made a full offer price, and they loved the way the landscaping
that was one of the a lot of times when people leave me and I'll call them to check in with them, a few hours later or the next day, what did you think about the house? Well, we love the interior, but there's too much work outside. I'm like, what do you mean too much work outside? They're like, well, the grass was this, or everything was dead out there. I said, yeah, I get that. So I go back to the homeowner. I say, listen, this is the feedback. Why don't you spend a weekend? Because you guys are, go to Home Depot, go to your garden centers. There's tons of garden centers around. Go in there and talk to people. It's very inexpensive they'll give you some ideas and tips on what to do. And that's going to counteract what I just got from people saying that, the yard looks a mess.
And Another funny thing you were talking about is when they go in there, they retire, or the young people, they bring all their gyms and all their equipment and they put it in the garage and all that. And they say, hey, it's all working out. And one funny comment was somebody said, yeah, we're so busy working in the yard and all that, we're physically fit, we don't even have enough time to even use our exercise equipment that we had down in Mass. It's all in storage in the barn, or it's in the storage in the garage. We're constantly working out. And some of the people said, I love the outdoors. I'm working from home and I'm working, and I look, and next thing you know, I'm out in the yard. I brought the grill out in the backyard. I'm working outside. I went down to the store. I love it outside.
Right.
You know, when it doesn't get cold. You know, I'm outside sitting with my snorkel out there, with my little, what do they call those? The little chimeneas
Yes,
out
the
there,
chimenea.
out there. And I know you love yours. I love mine out there. That, once again, it's a big giant living room out there, the garden, and it's unbelievable.
Absolutely, and some of the homes, just the exterior landscape with views that they have, that we find that people in New Hampshire do more outdoors than you would be here in Massachusetts. I mean, people love to come up on the weekends. People like to snowshoe. I mean, hey, I have deer in my yard almost every night. That's the other thing we have to talk about is planting stuff or trying to maintain so the deer do not go through a lot of the stuff. I don't normally tell that to a curb appeal customer because I want to get that in and get it sold, but that's something that my wife and I are facing, that our plants that we put out, we have so many deer that it's like filet mignon to them. They just come and have a great time.
Right. Well, that's why I have all these up high in case the deer decide to walk in here that you brought down or whatever. But yeah, that is definitely one thing, that deer will eat everything and everything during the winter time, especially during the summer. This looks awful yummy to them. It looks great. And a lot of people do talk about, well, you know, what do I use? I got bunnies eating my plants. You know, that's another show.
That is exactly correct.
Deer eating. Well, you make it look good, of course they're going to eat it. I mean, think of this.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
So you want to put all those plants up high.
Right.
You know, I mean, they'll eat, you know, a lot of yews up there. You know, there's all kinds of sprays up there that you can do. But honestly, I just keep telling people, just live with it. You know, there's really not much you can do. They're out there. I mean, like my wife does, I'm going to bring my wife up. We have rabbits here in Waltham a lot. So they're going to eat the plants and all that. I told her to fill her up. So I bring a carrot home every night, and we get bunnies that eat the carrot. Okay.
Try to give them something else so they stay away.
They're full by the time that they go into the yard and eat the rest of the plants.
Right.
And I don't know if you want to throw that out to people, put on your business card.
That's a good idea.
So, I mean, that's a true story.
No, I'm
Sorry,
sure.
Chris, but I had to say it, but that's what happened. And then we got squirrel lovers. Squirrels will eat everything, but not as bad. But that being said, okay, you know, it's really fun out there in the garden. So Bruno, tell us a little bit, you know, a little bit more about you, how they can contact you. And I'll tell you, I am so jealous because I live in a cubicle in Waltham. It's really nice neighborhood. It's great, but I love New Hampshire.
Well, we're going to sell you something in New Hampshire someday.
No, I'm broke. Tell people how they can contact you, everything about what's going on up there. And I'll tell you, you have houses that are right on the water too.
We have, so up in the Lakes region, we have water access homes, we have condos, we have $1 million homes in the waterfront. Whatever your heart desires, we can find for you. And so I can be reached with Caldwell Banker Realty, Bruno Coppola, associate broker, and 603-244-9544. If you have a home in Mass or anywhere, we have offices throughout the East Coast, actually. So even if you're leaving Massachusetts or New Hampshire, it's too cold for you now, and you're going to Florida, contact me. We can set you up. I have plenty of agents that work under the Caldwell Banker name, and I have my card. You'll see it on your screen that you can contact me. And I appreciate you know, our conversations back and forth about this curb appeal. Curb appeal is a big deal, and you know, And I may be calling you up. Of course, I'll call you up when I see something that I don't know. I'll take a photo, I'll send it to you, and say, hey, what do you think this person should do here for the minimal amount of money to get squared away? We also have some photos that they'll put up, and we can talk about the photos quickly if you want, and we can go over those. Here we go. Here, let's take a look at this one here. You've got a before and after. There's the rhododendrons. Okay, so what did you just say? You got your cutter and your little saw, correct? Bingo. Look at the difference.
Now the next one is good too.
Yep. Let's go to the next one. So look at this place. So if you drove up to the top picture, what do you think?
It's a no-brainer. It's curb appeal.
Exactly. So now look at the bottom. Okay, that person driving up's going, wow. There's nothing to do in this yard.
Bruno, I know you love New Hampshire.
I love
You do
selling.
the boating. You do everything up there. You do the snowmobiling. Bruno, thank you so much.
I appreciate
for coming on the show. I know you got to beat the traffic. You got to go out there. This has been such a fun show to do. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
I drive you crazy in the middle of the night texting you, hey, what do you think? What do you think? And all that stuff.
No.
But this has been fun.
I appreciate being
All right?
being around the garden with Jimmy K. This has been, I mean, it's been on the schedule now for 3 weeks. I've been so excited to get here.
Under the lights,
Yep,
with the
yep,
rain.
this is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you
In
again,
studio,
Bruno.
thank you.
So once again, everybody, stay tuned with another show, and it's going to be exciting because spring is out there with Around the Garden with Jimmy K. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.